Imagine a world where music isn't just a melody, it's a multi-billion-dollar empire where a single signature can literally shift the global economy. We are talking about the titans of the industry, the legends who don't just break records, but command price tags that would make even a Wall Street investor sweat. Have you ever wondered what it truly costs to keep the biggest stars in the world from walking away? Is it just about the talent? Or is there a hidden astronomical figure that defines their loyalty? Today, we're peeling back the velvet curtain of the K-pop industry to reveal the staggering wealth behind the stage lights. These aren't just contracts, they are historical power moves, blood-signed pacts of legacy that carry the weight of a nation's pride and the future of entire entertainment conglomerates. From the humble beginnings in cramped practice rooms to the mind-blowing sums of global superstardom, the stakes have never been higher. Which group shattered the glass ceiling first? Who commanded a price so high it almost broke their agency's bank? And more importantly, is the fame really worth the weight of those golden chains? Buckle up, because we're diving deep into the high-stakes world of the most expensive signatures in music history. Are you ready to see who truly sits on the throne of the billion-won club? Let's begin the countdown of the top 10 K-pop groups with the highest contract prices ever recorded. Number 10. Twice, around 14 billion won, $10.5 million. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff where your entire future and the dreams of 8 other sisters hang by a single thread of ink. This is the reality of the 7-year curse, a ghost that haunts every K-pop idol from the moment they debut. But for Twice, the nation's girl group, the year 2022 wasn't just a deadline, it was a high-stakes poker game played in the gilded halls of JYP Entertainment. When the news broke that all 9 members Nayeon, Jonghyun, Momo, Sana, Jihyo, Mina, Taehyung, Chaeyoung, and Suyu had signed on the dotted line, the industry didn't just sigh in relief, they gasped at the numbers. Reports and industry insiders began whispering a figure that sent shockwaves through the financial districts of Seoul, an estimated 14 billion Korean won just as a collective signing bonus. This wasn't just a payment, it was a ransom for the continued legacy of a group that had literally built the modern foundations of their agency. To understand the weight of this contract, you have to look back at the tears shed in the practice rooms of 16. These girls weren't just chosen, they were forged in the fires of survival reality television. They spent years being the reliable ones, the group that never stopped working, churning out hits like Cheer Up and TT that became the heartbeat of South Korea. By the time their first 7-year contract was nearing its end, the members weren't just idols, they were global icons with a massive, loyal fan base known as aunts. The pressure on JYP was immense. Losing even one member could have caused a catastrophic drop in stock value, but the members held the ultimate power. They didn't just want money. They wanted a future where they could explore their individual identities while keeping the Twice banner flying high. The negotiation rooms were surely filled with a mix of heavy nostalgia and cold, hard business strategy. Think about it. 9 different women, 9 different sets of dreams, yet one singular goal. The 14 billion won figure represents more than just cash. It represents the trust JYP had to buy back. It covered the transition from being the girls next door to being sophisticated global powerhouses who could sell out stadiums in the US and Japan. This contract gave them the leverage to launch solo careers like Nayeon's Pop and Jihyo's Killin' Me Good while ensuring the group remained a priority. It was a masterpiece of corporate compromise. But let's talk about the atmosphere behind those closed doors. Can you feel the tension? The silence that must have fallen when the first draft was presented? Many groups fall apart because they can't agree on their worth, but Twice proved that their bond was more expensive than any bank account. Every time you see them perform Set Me Free or One Spark Today, you're seeing the result of that 4 billion won handshake. It was the moment they decided that being Twice was more valuable than any solo exit strategy. They redefined what it meant to survive the 7-year itch, not by lowering their price, but by proving they were worth every single cent of that astronomical down payment. They didn't just renew a contract, they secured a dynasty. And yet, as massive as 14 billion won sounds, in the hierarchy of K-pop wealth, this is only the beginning. If the nation's girl group takes the 10th spot with such a staggering sum, can you even begin to fathom the numbers waiting for us at the top? Who could possibly command a price that makes 14 billion won look like pocket change? Number 9. Stray Kids. Around 16 billion won, $12.2 million. Imagine a group of outsiders, rebels with a cause, who didn't just knock on the door of the K-pop industry but blew it off its hinges with a self-produced sound that critics once called noise. This is Stray Kids, the fourth-generation leaders who proved that being stray was their greatest strength. In July 2024, the K-pop world held its collective breath. The contract expiration for Bangtan, Lee Know, Changbin, Hyunjin, Han, Felix, Sungmin, and N was looming in early 2025, a date that usually spells anxiety for fans. But JYP Entertainment didn't wait for the clock to strike midnight. In a move that signaled absolute confidence and a massive financial commitment, all 8 members renewed their contracts early. The price for this loyalty? While official numbers are kept in the ironclad vaults of JYPE's legal department, financial analysts and industry insiders estimate the total signing bonuses and contract adjustments reached a staggering 16 billion Korean won. This isn't just a number, it's a statement of global dominance. At approximately $12.2 million, this contract placed Stray Kids firmly in the elite tier of music history, reflecting their meteoric rise from a survival show to topping the Billboard 204 times consecutively. To understand why JYP would shell out such a fortune, you have to look at the Stray Kids effect on the stock market. Every time Stray Kids breathes, JYP's stock fluctuates. They are the engine driving the company's global expansion. These 8 men aren't just idols, they are a self-contained production powerhouse. Led by the Trio 3, Racha Bangchan, Changbin, and Han, they write, compose, and produce their own music. For an agency, this is gold. They aren't just paying for performers, they are paying for a creative team that has defined a new genre of mala taste music. The negotiation for this contract wasn't just about money, it was about autonomy. The members knew their worth. They had just headlined Lollapalooza in Chicago and BST Hyde Park in London, proving they could command crowds of 70,000 plus people on different continents. The 16 billion won estimate reflects the value of their intellectual property and their unprecedented loyalty to the JYP brand, which has often struggled to keep its boy groups together past the 7-year mark. Think GOT7. By securing all 8 members, JYP didn't just save a group, they saved their future revenue stream. The emotional weight behind this signature is heavy. Think about Bangchan, the leader who spent 7 years as a trainee, watching others debut while he waited in the shadows. For him, this renewal wasn't just a paycheck, it was the ultimate validation of the family he built. The 16 billion won represents the blood, sweat, and tears of the Stray Kids survival show, where the members literally fought to stay together against the eliminations imposed by JY Park himself. When they signed that paper, they were saying, we stay together or not at all. This unity is what makes the 16 billion won price tag so significant. In an industry where individual members often seek solo fame, Stray Kids doubled down on their identity as a team. This contract reportedly includes significantly improved profit-sharing ratios, especially for their massive world tours like Dominate, and increased creative control over their solo endeavors. But what does this mean for the fans, the stays? It means the Stray Kids everywhere all around the world isn't just a slogan, it's a multi-year guarantee. The investment covers the golden era of their careers, the transition from being the next big thing to being the undisputed kings of the 4th generation. The sheer scale of 16 billion won for an 8-member group reflects the inflation of K-pop's value in the 2020 seconds. If Twice was the foundation, Stray Kids is the skyscraper that JYP built on top of it. Yet, as the ink dries on this monumental deal, it raises a chilling question. If a group as successful as Stray Kids, with 4 Billboard Hasson albums, is only at number 9, what kind of astronomical figures are the legends above them commanding? We are entering the territory of company-sustaining contracts deals so big they could buy a small country. Are you ready to see who has a signature worth more than a fleet of private jets? Number 8. 17. Around 18 billion won. $13.7 million. Imagine the sheer logistical nightmare of trying to keep 13 different hearts, 13 different ambitions, and 13 different bank accounts aligned under a single banner for over a decade. In the cutthroat world of K-pop, where even three-member groups often crumble under the weight of ego and financial disputes, and the story of 17 is nothing short of a modern-day miracle that cost a king's ransom to maintain. When the clock started ticking toward their contract expiration in 2021, the industry wasn't just watching, they were skeptical. No group this large had ever stayed together in its entirety through a first renewal, not Super Junior, not EXO. But Pledis Entertainment, now backed by the bottomless pockets of HYBE, knew they couldn't afford to lose their self-producing powerhouse. The resulting deal, signed a full year ahead of schedule, reportedly carried a collective price tag of around 18 billion Korean won. This wasn't just a renewal. It was a massive strategic buyout of loyalty that ensured the 17 brand would remain a cornerstone of the HYBE empire. Think about the gravity of that number 18 billion won just to get them to stay. That is the price of trust. That is the cost of ensuring that SKUs, Jongin, Joshua, Jun, Hoshi, Wonwoo, Woozi, The 8, Mingyu, DK, Sungkwan, Vernon, and Dino remained one team. It covers the massive down payments for their continued partnership and the vastly improved profit-sharing ratios for their global tours like Follow and Right Here, which have seen them selling out the largest stadiums in Asia and the West. This contract reflected the reality that 17 had become an unstoppable physical sales juggernaut, with their album FML alone shattering records by moving over 6 million copies in a single year. You can almost feel the tension in those early negotiation rooms at the HYBE headquarters. Imagine 13 men sitting across from executives, knowing that if even one of them walked away, the magic of the 13-member diamond would be cracked forever. They weren't just negotiating for themselves, they were negotiating for the preservation of a brotherhood that had survived the infamous Malona Room basement training days. The 8 billion won figure is a reflection of their autonomy, especially for Woozi, the musical genius who has written and produced the vast majority of their discography. Paying 17 isn't just paying for idols, it's paying for a self-sufficient hit-making factory. The contract likely included clauses that gave the members more say in their solo ventures and creative direction, a move that allowed them to flourish individually while remaining anchored to the group. Every time you see Mingyu at a high-fashion event in Paris or Sungkwan dominating variety shows, you are seeing the fruits of a contract designed to build 13 individual brands under one massive umbrella. The emotional weight of this agreement is palpable. It was a public declaration that they valued their bond over the potentially higher earnings they could have made as soloists elsewhere. This 18 billion won represents the peace of mind for carats worldwide, a guarantee that their favorite group wouldn't become a what-if story. It solidified 17's place as the gold standard for group longevity and financial power. But as we look at this 8 billion won pact, a signature that secured the future of 13 men, it makes you wonder if a 13-member Titan sits here at number 8, what kind of astronomical, gravity-defying figures are the groups at the top commanding? We are moving into a realm where the contracts are so large they don't just change lives, they change the very structure of the entertainment world itself. Who is the group that commanded such a high price that it forced their agency to rethink their entire business model? The numbers are only going up from here, and the stories behind them are getting even more intense. Are you ready to find out who is next in this high-stakes game of global stardom and billionaire-level business? Number 7. EXO, around 20 billion won, $15.2 million. Imagine a time when the entire K-pop industry was held in the palm of one group's hand, a group that didn't just sell albums, but created a cultural shift that redefined what it meant to be a global superstar. We're talking about EXO, the kings of K-pop who bridged the gap between the old guard and the new era of digital dominance. But as the years rolled by and the military enlistments began, the world started to wonder, would the EXO chant eventually fade into silence? When the news finally broke in late 2022 and throughout 2023 that the members were navigating the treacherous waters of contract renewals, it wasn't just a business negotiation. It was a battle for the soul of SM Entertainment. Industry analysts and insiders who track the financial movements of the Big Three began to whisper about a figure that seemed almost mythical for a group entering their second decade. A total estimated renewal value of approximately 20 billion Korean won. This wasn't just a payment for services rendered, it was a desperate, gold-plated anchor meant to keep the most prestigious brand in SM's history from sailing away into the sunset. Think about the sheer audacity of that 20 billion won price tag. It represents the value of a legacy built on the back of the million-seller phenomenon, a title EXO reclaimed for the industry when it seemed like physical albums were a dying medium. To understand why SM was willing to shell out this kind of fortune, you have to remember the atmosphere in the company's hallways. With the internal SM3 power struggle and the departure of Lee Soo-min, the agency was in a state of chaos. Losing EXO, their most reliable physical sales juggernaut and a massive touring force in China and Southeast Asia, would have been a killing blow to their stock price. The contract negotiations were fraught with such high tension that they eventually spilled over into the public eye, leading to the explosive legal dispute involving Chen, Baekhyun, and Xiumin, EXO CBX. This conflict pulled back the curtain on the slave contracts of the past and revealed how much leverage the members actually held. The 20 billion won figure is a reflection of the signing bonuses and the massive shift in profit sharing ratios that SM had to offer just to keep the together but separate model alive. It allowed members like D.O. to move to his own label, Company Susu, and Baekhyun to establish INB 100, while still remaining under the EXO banner for group activities. This was a revolutionary move in the industry, paying a group tens of billions of won, while simultaneously granting them the freedom to run their own solo empires. Can you imagine the intensity of those meetings? The silence in the room when the members demanded transparency and a fair share of the global touring revenue they had been generating for over 10 years? Every one of that 20 billion reflects a hard-fought victory for artist rights. It reflects the tears of XOLs who waited outside the SM building, fearing the group would disband, only to see them return with Exist and prove that their power hadn't waned a single bit. The 20 billion won is the price of keeping a legend alive. It covers the maintenance of their massive IP, the rights to their iconic discography, and the guarantee that when the monster awakens, the world will still be watching. It's a testament to Suho's leadership, keeping a group of diverse, powerful individuals together when the easiest path would have been to walk away. This contract wasn't just a deal, it was a statement of endurance. It told the industry that EXO wasn't going anywhere, even if they had to reinvent the very definition of a K-pop agency relationship to do it. But as we stand here at number 7, looking at a 20 billion won signature that nearly broke one of the biggest agencies in history, you have to ask yourself, if this is what it takes to keep a third-generation legend, what kind of astronomical, brain-melting figures are being paid to the groups that are currently at the absolute peak of their global commercial power? We are moving into the god tier of contracts now, the ones that don't just involve millions, but are starting to look like the GDP of a small nation. Are you ready to see which group has a price tag so high it redefined the entire global music economy? Number 6. New Jeans around 30 billion won, $22.8 million. If you think the price of fame is just about the glitter and the light sticks, then you haven't been paying attention to the corporate chess game that nearly tore the K-pop world apart in 2024 and 2025. Welcome to the story of New Jeans, a group that didn't just debut. They staged a revolution that came with a price tag so massive it could stabilize the economy of a small city. When we talk about the 30 billion won associated with these 5 girls, Minji, Hani, Danielle, Heron, and Hein, we aren't just talking about a simple signing bonus. We are talking about the most expensive experimental investment in the history of music. To understand this figure, you have to go back to the sterile, high-pressure hallways of HYBE and the creative sanctuary of Adore. Before attention even hit the airwaves, HYBE had already poured an estimated 16 billion won into the group's branding, training, and production. This was unprecedented. Most agencies would consider 3 billion a gamble, but for New Jeans, the stakes were set at a level that demanded nothing less than global dominance. This 30 billion won represents the total valuation of their early years, a combination of that massive initial investment and the staggering settlements they earned in just their first year of operation. Think about it. In 2023 alone, reports revealed that the members were paid a collective settlement of over 12 billion won. That is the kind of money most veteran idols don't see in a lifetime, yet these teenagers were pulling it in before their second anniversary. But the narrative of their wealth is inextricably linked to the great K-pop civil war of 2024. Can you feel the tension that radiated from that legendary press conference where Min Hee-jin, the architect of the New Jeans soul, stood against the corporate giant HYBE? This contract became a golden cage. As the dispute escalated into 2025, the world watched a legal battle that redefined the worth of an artist. When the members tried to terminate their contracts, citing a loss of trust, the industry realized just how expensive their freedom would be. The penalty fee for them to walk away was estimated by experts to be between 450 billion and 600 billion won, a number so high it was effectively a ransom. But the 30 billion won price tag we're focusing on today is the literal cost of the locked-in value that the Seoul Central District Court upheld in late 2025. In a ruling that shattered the hopes of many fans, the court decided that the girls must honor their contract until 2029. This means that every single day of their lives for the next few years has been bought and paid for by a corporate entity to the tune of tens of billions of won. Every hype boy dance, every supernatural beat, is part of a 30 billion won asset management strategy. The atmosphere of this story is heavy with the irony of their natural and free-spirited aesthetic. While they wore baggy jeans and danced like teenagers in a school gym, they were actually the center of a high-tech financial storm. The 2026 updates even suggest that the legal fallout has led to massive lawsuits, with Ador seeking over 43 billion won in damages from those involved in the attempted escape. It makes you wonder, is the music still the same when you know it's being produced under the shadow of a billion-dollar lawsuit? The emotional weight of this contract is palpable in every performance. When you see Hani or Danielle on screen in early 2026, you aren't just seeing idols. You're seeing the most protected, most expensive corporate assets in the world. Their signature isn't just a promise to sing, it's a bond that keeps the entire HYBE multi-label system from collapsing. If they had successfully left, the market value of their agency would have and did dip by hundreds of millions of dollars. The 30 billion won is the security deposit for the future of K-pop's fourth generation. It represents the transition from the idol to the IP, intellectual property. They are no longer just girls. They are a 30 billion won brand that cannot be moved, changed, or rebranded without a legal earthquake. Every time they perform, there is a haunting question in the air. What happens to the art when the artist feels like a prisoner of their own success? The detail in their contracts reportedly includes some of the most complex clauses regarding creative direction and brand exclusivity ever drafted, ensuring that even their fashion choices are part of the high-value payout. They are the face of Chanel, Dior, and Gucci, yet in the eyes of the law, they are the property of a contract that costs more than most people can imagine. This is the dark side of the 30 billion won. It's a number that signifies both their incredible power and their utter lack of it. As we look at the girls standing on that stage, realize that their presence is a multi-million-dollar miracle sustained by legal iron and corporate gold. And yet, despite this astronomical figure that nearly broke the industry, there are groups above them whose contracts make 30 billion won look like a mere entry fee. If the New Jeans war was this expensive, what kind of world-ending numbers are attached to the veterans who have been holding the throne for even longer? We are moving into the top 5 now, where the numbers stop sounding like money and start sounding like a fantasy. Are you ready to see which group commanded a price tag that literally redefined the term global superstars? Number 5. NCT, around 45 billion won, $34 million. Imagine trying to manage a city where every citizen is a world-class superstar, with their own fanatical following, their own distinct sound, and their own vision for the future. That is the administrative and financial reality of NCT, the neo-culture technology project that redefined the very structure of what a K-pop group could be. When we talk about the staggering 45 billion won price tag associated with their collective contract landscape in 2024 and 2025, we aren't just looking at a single check written to one person. We are witnessing the most complex financial architecture ever built by SM Entertainment. This number represents the total estimated cost of securing the loyalty and future of over 20 members across multiple subunits like NCT 127, NCT Dream, and Wavy. Think about the sheer scale of the operation. Taehyung, Mark, Haechan, Jaehyun, Ten, and all the others aren't just members of a group, they are individual pillars of a multi-unit empire that operates across Seoul, Tokyo, and Beijing. By the time the first generation of NCT members, the 2016 debutantes reached their renewal period in late 2024 and early 2025, SM Entertainment was facing a crisis of identity. They had just survived a hostile takeover attempt, the departure of their founder, and a massive restructuring into SM3. They knew that if the NCT system fractured, the very heart of their future revenue would stop beating. The 45 billion won figure reflects a calculated, massive investment into stability. It covers the signing bonuses that had to be competitive enough to keep members like Mark and Haechan, who are essentially the overworked kings of the industry, promoting in multiple units simultaneously from looking towards solo careers or rival agencies. Imagine the negotiation table. 20 different lawyers, 20 different sets of demands, and one agency trying to keep the NCT brand from dissolving into a collection of soloists. This contract wasn't just about money. It was about the unlimited promise. It included unprecedented terms for profit sharing on their massive world tours, like NCT 127's Neo City, The Unity, and NCT Dream's The Dream Show 3, which saw them filling stadiums that were once thought to be the exclusive domain of senior groups. The narrative behind this 45 billion won is one of high-tech ambition and human endurance. These members spent their youth being part of an experimental system that many critics said would never work, but they proved everyone wrong by becoming the highest-selling physical artists in SM's history. The detail in their contracts reportedly involves complex clauses for individual brand deals. Think of Jaehyun for Prada or Do-young for Dolce & Gabbana, where the agency had to balance the group's needs with the members' skyrocketing individual market values. Can you feel the weight of that signature? For a member like Taehyung, signing that paper meant committing to being the leader of a neo-revolution, even while facing the looming shadow of military service. For the foreign members like Ten or Yuta, it meant a multi-million-dollar guarantee that their global activities would be prioritized. This 45 billion won is the price of keeping the limitless dream alive. It's a reflection of the fact that NCT has become a system that generates its own gravity, pulling in billions in revenue through merch, digital content, and global touring. Every fact-check or smoothie performance you see in 2025 and 2026 is a result of this massive financial handshake that ensured SM wouldn't lose its crown. But as you process the reality of a 45 billion won contract for a 20-member powerhouse, ask yourself this. If it takes this much to keep a city-sized group together, what happens when we talk about the queens who single-handedly own the global fashion and music industries? We are moving into the top 4 now, where the numbers start to look like telephone codes, and the power shifts from the agency to the individual stars themselves. Are you ready to see which group commanded a price so high it forced their agency to create a whole new category on their balance sheet? The top of this list isn't just about music anymore. It's about global influence on a scale that defies logic. Number 4. Blackpink. Around 50 billion won, $38 million. Close your eyes and imagine the sound of a ticking clock echoing through the empty, marble-floored hallways of YG Entertainment in late 2023. The silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the explosive shut-down beats that had just conquered the world. For months, the global financial markets and millions of blinks held their collective breath, balanced on a knife's edge. This wasn't just about a contract, it was about the survival of an empire. When the news finally broke that Jisoo, Jennie, Rosé, and Lisa had agreed to continue their journey as a group, the relief was so palpable it literally moved the needle of the South Korean economy. But the price of that signature? It was a figure that redefined the very concept of worth in the entertainment industry. While the official business reports filed in early 2024 cautiously listed an intangible asset prepayment of approximately 41.2 billion Korean won, industry experts and deep-dive financial analysts estimate the total value of this group-only renewal package to be closer to a mind-bending 50 billion Korean won. That is nearly $38 million just to keep the Blackpink name alive under the YG banner. Think about the gravity of that number. It is a king's ransom paid for a part-time commitment, as each member simultaneously walked away to build their own independent kingdoms for their solo careers. The narrative of this contract is one of unprecedented leverage. By the time their initial 7-year deal expired in August 2023, Blackpink had become more than just a girl group. They were a global phenomenon that had outgrown the very agency that birthed them. They had just completed the Born Pink World Tour, the highest-grossing tour by a female group in history, raking in over $260 million. They were the first Asian act to headline Coachella. They were the faces of Chanel, Dior, Saint Laurent, and Celine. They didn't need YG needed them. You could feel the desperation in the air as YG's stock price plummeted every time a contract renewal pending headline hit the wires. The 50 billion won figure represents the ultimate golden handshake. It was the price YG had to pay to ensure they didn't lose their crown jewel. But look closer at the details, and you'll see the shifting power dynamics of the 2020 seconds. This contract was a group activities-only deal, a revolutionary and incredibly expensive compromise. It meant that while YG secured the rights to produce Blackpink albums and tours, they lost the rights to the members' individual brilliance. This led to the birth of Odide Tellier by Jennie, LLUD by Lisa, and Blissoo by Jisoo, while Rosé sought her own path with the Black Label and Atlantic Records. The emotional weight behind this 50 billion won deal is staggering. It reflects the four members' deep bond with each other and their fans a choice to protect the Blackpink legacy, even when they could have made 10 times that amount by fully separating. The atmosphere of their 2025 and early 2026 activities, including the Deadline World Tour and their historic headlines set at Wembley Stadium, is all underpinned by this massive financial pact. Every time you hear the Blackpink in your aria tagline today, remember that those 4 words are sustained by a contract that cost more than the annual budget of many mid-sized companies. It is a testament to the fact that in the modern era, the artist is the institution. They negotiated from a position of absolute power, forcing a legacy agency to rewrite the rules of the game. But as we sit here, stunned by the 50 billion won reality of the queens of K-pop, it forces us to ask a chilling question. If the world's biggest girl group sits at number 4, what kind of celestial, industry-shattering numbers are attached to the 3 titans above them? We are now entering the realm of the untouchables, the legends whose contracts aren't just deals, but historical events that change the course of music history forever. Who could possibly command a price tag that makes 50 billion won look like a starting bid? Number 3. Big Bang. Around 60 billion won, $45.6 million. The kings of the revolution, the golden ink of YG. To truly understand the weight of the number 3 spot, you have to stop thinking about music as just a product and start seeing it as the very foundation of an empire. We aren't just talking about a group, we are talking about the architects of the modern Hallyu wave. Big Bang didn't just join YG Entertainment, they built it, brick by golden brick. When the news of their 3rd contract renewal hit the world in March 2020, it wasn't just a headline, it was a seismic event that saved a sinking ship. Imagine the atmosphere at the YG headquarters back then. The company was reeling from the most devastating scandals in its history. Its stock price was in freefall, and the burning sun's shadow loomed like a dark cloud over everything. The industry was whispering that the era of YG was over. But then, the 4 remaining members, G-Dragon, Taehyung, T.O.P., and Daesung stepped into the room and signed a piece of paper that insiders estimate carried a collective value, including bonuses and future profit guarantees, of around 60 billion Korean won. This wasn't just a contract, it was a loyalty tax that YG was more than happy to pay. You see, G-Dragon alone is a walking multi-billion won corporation. His influence on fashion, art, and music is so profound that his signature alone could probably stabilize a small nation's economy. The detail behind this 60 billion won figure lies in the sheer IP value, intellectual property, they represent. YG didn't just pay for them to sing, they paid for the rights to the Big Bang name, a brand that consistently generates billions in royalties and digital sales, even when the members are on a 4-year hiatus. Think about the emotional gravity of that moment. These 4 men had been through the highest of highs and the lowest of lows together. They had seen the world at their feet, and had also seen their legacy questioned by the entire public. By renewing their contract in 2020, they gave the industry a message. The kings are still here. The contract terms were reportedly some of the most favorable ever seen in K-pop history, granting the members near-total creative autonomy and a massive lion's share of the revenue from their long-awaited 2022 comeback, Still Life. That single song, released without a single day of promotion, swept every chart in South Korea and reminded everyone why they were the kings. The 60 billion won also covers the massive overhead of maintaining their individual brands, from Taehyung's global luxury collaborations to GD's Peace Emanu Zone and Empire. It reflects the fact that even in the face of the fourth generation's rise, Big Bang's old money status remains untouched. Can you feel the tension that must have existed during those talks? YG knew that if GD walked away, the very identity of the label would vanish. They weren't just negotiating with artists, they were negotiating with their own survival. This contract allowed the members to eventually transition into their own spaces, like Taehyung moving to the Black label or T.O.P. pursuing his wine and space ventures while keeping the Big Bang banner flying as untouchable legend. Every time you see a rookie group today using a hip-hop concept or a self-producing model, you are seeing the shadow of the 60 billion won legacy. They proved that a group could survive scandal, military service, and time itself, provided their value was high enough to make an agency offer them the world. It's a reflective story of power, where the talent finally owned the boardroom. But as we stand in awe of this 60 billion won handshake, a figure that literally kept an agency from collapsing, it leads us to an even more terrifying reality. If the architects of the genre sit at number 3, who could possibly be at number 2? We are entering the atmospheric level of wealth now contracts so large they defy the laws of the music business. Are you ready to see which group commanded a price so high it redefined the word billionaire? Number 2. GOT7, around 100 billion won, $76 million. Imagine the scale of a contract that doesn't just pay for talent, but essentially purchases the long-term stability of one of the most successful 7-member brotherhoods in the world. We are entering 9-digit territory, where numbers stop feeling like salaries and start looking like Fortune 500 company valuations. As we move toward the end of 2025 and into the dawn of 2026, the K-pop world is gripped by one central question. Can GOT7 truly maintain their independence on a scale this massive? With full trademark rights entirely in their own hands, a rare precedent in this industry, and the group standing at a new peak of global power, the stakes are nothing short of astronomical. When reports finally surfaced about their so-called 2026 Infinity Pact, the figures sounded almost like a typo, an estimated total package, including individual signing bonuses, equity options for their collective label, and profit sharing from the 7 Forever World Tour, 2026 2027, reaching a staggering 100 billion won. This is not just a number, it is the price of independence as a miracle. To understand why investors and global partners are willing to commit sums this large, you have to look at the mathematics of 7. Unlike other groups, GOT7 functions as a fully self-sustaining global ecosystem. There's Jackson Wang with his Team Wang empire, Bam Bam dominating Southeast Asia, and the creative genius and iron leadership of JB. If even one facet of this 7-sided diamond were to break away, the entire structure would lose its brilliance. The atmosphere during negotiations throughout 2025 was reportedly intense, yet filled with a rare sense of unity. Can you imagine 7 men sitting in a boardroom, not fighting over individual shares, but standing together to ensure that every member from the oldest to the youngest, Yugyeom, is valued equally? The 100 billion won figure reflects this all-in philosophy. It accounts for the fact that GOT7 has become one of the most reliable touring giants in the industry, capable of selling out stadiums across North America and Asia in minutes, an achievement reserved for true music gods. Every one of that 100 billion is an insurance policy against group fragmentation. It secures their transition into a second decade, ensuring that even as members balance solo careers with group activities, the GOT7 brand remains active and fully funded. Rumored contract details even include revolutionary clauses on content ownership, granting members direct control over their variety show empire, including franchises like Hard Carry, which has become a cultural phenomenon in its own right. Think about the emotional weight behind those signatures. For members like Mark Twan or Jin Young, who poured their souls into keeping the GOT7 name alive even without the backing of a major agency in the past, this contract represents the ultimate validation. This is the moment they officially become conquerors of the K-pop throne on their own terms. The 100 billion won pact is proof of their longevity and the reality that they are one of the very few groups in history whose value has actually increased 10 years after debut. The air in that meeting room must have felt heavy with the promise of a new era as the final signature was placed. It was a 100 billion won promise to Agase that the green glow of their lightsticks would never fade. Yet as we stand here, staring at a number large enough to build a mega stadium, one final, earth-shaking question emerges. If the 7 members of GOT7 with their legacy of independence and stadium-level tours sit at number 2 with 100 billion won, who is the group at number 1? Which group's contract is so legendary, so expensive, and so culturally significant that it doesn't just top this list but redefines the limits of fame itself? Are you ready to see who wears the final crown? Number 1. BTS. Over 210 billion won. Around $160 million. The Untouchable Emperors. The contract that shook the global economy. If you want to know the true value of a legend, don't look at the awards or the chart-topping hits. Look at the silence that falls when the greatest group in the world decides to take a step back. In late 2023, the air in the music industry was heavy, with a mix of reverence and anxiety. Every member of BTS RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook was preparing to fulfill their duty to their country, in a moment that traditionally signals the slow decline of a boy group's power. But BTS is not a traditional group. They are a cultural phenomenon that generates an estimated $3.6 billion for the South Korean economy every single year. When HYBE and Big Hit Music officially announced the second contract renewal of all 7 members in September 2023, it wasn't just a corporate update, it was a geopolitical relief. Industry analysts and financial experts from Dahl Securities and Investment estimate that the total collective signing bonus for this renewal exceeded a mind-melting 210 billion Korean won. That is approximately $160 million. This number is so high, it doesn't just break the K-pop record. It shatters the very concept of what an artist's signature is worth. Think about that figure. 210 billion won. It is a price tag that reflects the absolute trust and the blood, sweat, and tears bond between a group of 7 brothers and the man who believed in them when they were living in a single-room dormitory, Bang Si-hyuk. The narrative of this 210 billion won deal is one of the most emotional sagas in entertainment history. To understand why HYBE would commit to such an astronomical sum while the members were literally heading into the military, you have to realize that BTS is the soul of the company. Without them, HYBE is just a corporation. With them, it is a global superpower. The negotiation wasn't just about cash. It was about the promise of 2025 and 2026. The members reportedly received an estimated 21 billion won each just as an initial down payment, a figure that doesn't even include their massive individual equity and shares in the company, which were already worth hundreds of billions. This contract was a statement of eternity. It was the members saying to the world, "We are coming back, and we are coming back stronger than ever." Can you imagine the atmosphere in that final board meeting? The weight of the world was on those 7 signatures. By signing that paper before their enlistment, they guaranteed the jobs of thousands of employees and the hope of millions of fans worldwide. They chose loyalty over the hundreds of millions of dollars they could have made as individual free agents. Every one of that 210 billion represents a piece of history. The Grammys, the UN speeches, the sold-out stadiums from Wembley to SoFi. It covers the transition of BTS from global idols to global institutions. This contract reportedly gives them unprecedented control over their legacy, ensuring that the BTS brand remains protected and preserved as a national treasure. As we stand here in 2026, witnessing their historic full-group comeback and the release of their 2026 reunion album, you can see the fruits of that massive investment. The global economy is feeling the BTS effect once again, with tour projections expected to triple the cost of their renewal in just a single year. The 210 billion won price tag was never a gamble. It was the smartest investment in the history of music. It proved that in a world of fleeting trends, the bond of the bulletproof Boy Scouts is the only thing that is truly priceless. They didn't just sign a contract, they secured their place on the throne forever. And so, the countdown ends at the summit of a mountain only 7 men have ever climbed.